Good morning. Time now is 11:02. Today's date is June 30th, 2025. July 30th. July 30th, 2025. Welcome to the State Commission Corrections meeting. First thing to do is approve the minutes. Like a June 25th Commission meeting. Have a motion?
Motion.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approve the minutes of the July 10th, 2025 CPCRC meeting.
Motion.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I will now turn over to Supervisor Larry Rowe.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Presenting to you today, variance request from the New York City Department of Corrections, 10V02. It's a renewal request regarding kiosk and compliance with Section 716.2. The New York City Department of Corrections, referred afterwards New York City DOC, is requesting a variance from the Commission's regulation of Title IX New York Codes Rules and Regulations, Section 716.2B. Currently, New York City DOC has two vendors, JPay and Western Union, and advises that imposing a $5 limit continues not to be possible with the current providers to render such services. Depending on the vendor and the nature of the transaction, the fees will still range from $3.95 to $11.95, with the average below $7.50. New York City DOC provided additional stats that from November 1st, 2024 through April 30th of 2025, there were over 62,900 deposits through vendors, which represents an approximate 92% of all deposits to institutional funds accounts. The New York City DOC further advises that such numbers represents a clear indication that the vendors continue to provide a valued service that enables more incarcerated individuals to have more funds deposited to their institutional fund accounts than would be the case otherwise. New York City DOC additionally advises that they allow visitors to deposit funds without charge into an incarcerated individual's account via Rikers Island's central cashier, the New York City DOC court facility in Manhattan, and the New York City DOC court facility in Brooklyn. Additionally, New York City DOC advises that they are in the process of attempting to procure a vendor for providing electronic deposits into incarcerated individuals' accounts using the request for proposal RFP method, and that such RFP includes SEOC's regulatory requirements of Title IX New York Codes Rules Regulations Section 716.2. New York City DOC further advises and provided that Commission with a copy of their RFP that was released to the public on July 21st of 2025. The RFP lists out timeframes for completion of the RFP process, documents that New York City DOC will not be receiving any fees for the services, and that a vendor must comply with the requirements of SAOC Minimum Standard 716.2. Furthermore, the RFP documents a tentative finish process and procurement date of a vendor by January of 2026. Commission staff recommends that the variance be approved until April 1st of 2026 to allow for New York City DOC to complete their RFP process and procure a vendor that provides services with a fee in accordance with Title IX New York Codes Rules Regulations Part 716.
Any questions or concerns?
Oh, yeah. So, as you know, State Department of Correctional Services has managed to have a maximum fee of $4.25, which we pointed out quite a long time ago, and which they've had an awful lot of time to be able to come into compliance. I did agree last time because I know from Mayor's Office of Contract Services that it takes a while to do an RFP. But in the meantime, I think we're going to approve this. One, I think we need to see something way before next April to prove that they are on track. Second of all, it's insufficient for people to be able to go just to the two jails and Rikers Island to deposit money for free when they're charging so much money. I think we should require that they have alternatives at every courthouse so that people can deposit money in every borough, not just having to go to Rikers Island to give money to their families. In addition, the New York City Department of Correction is sitting on millions of dollars unclaimed commissary funds that over the years, and the laws and regulations about how they can use it are very limited. I'd like to see the Department of Correction take some action with the city council, public advocate, and the mayor to be able to change the rules about what could be done with those funds, because then they could be using it to decrease any extra cost that people are experiencing if toward, reimbursing people to make sure that they're not paying over $5. So I just think we should be seeing a little bit more from them because it's a huge burden on families. And it's taking an awfully long time to get this done. So if we're going to extend it, I would strongly suggest that we not give them that much time, or at least require some kind of progress report like sooner, to make sure that the RFP, which apparently has been sent out, to be able to give us some information on how that's going, and also to make more effort to make it free for people to be able to deposit money.
So I may get wrong here, but I assume that the money that they have, of the individual's money, that goes to the controller's office, it's not claimed, is that correct? As I know.
Yes, they don't have, I mean, it's not like they could just go do something, they would have to do something affirmative with the city council, the mayor, or some legislation to make the money available for the benefit of families. But they haven't done anything. I mean, this is an issue that's come up multiple times, it's been reported on multiple times. They've had lots of opportunities to try to do something about making it life easier for families, and all they do is make it
But I
harder.
don't think they can just take them. I think it's gotta go, it goes to the controller's office, to the state. The money's,
So the state controller?
I believe so. Am I correct, anybody know?
I
Are
believe
these
so.
abandoned funds
Yeah.
that we're talking about? It's not the commissary profits, it's the
Correct,
individual's
it's
money
the money that's
that's.
sitting around.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't think that. I don't know offhand, but usually it goes to the state controller, the,
Yeah, because I was sure we just signed it over to the state controllers.
I don't know if the city's different than the state, but
Okay.
Well, they should be doing something to try to get it available, and they've done nothing. They've done nothing it's until I was here, and it was just gonna be passed as another, yeah, sure, of course, the vendors can't possibly make this. And then when I found out that Docs is able to get vendors to stay way under $5, you realize that the City Department of Correction just didn't really work very hard to try to get this in place. So we just keep going over and over and not give it, and they don't do anything except say, well, now we're gonna put out an RFP. It's taken them an awfully long time to do that. They're correct that it's gonna take a while once they get their things back, because the mayor's office contracts takes their time. But I just don't see the logic of just every time they come saying, sure, take another 6 months. Or in this case, you're saying give them like 10 months.
The recommendation for that would be, because the process for procurement would, if everything goes well with them for this, would be in January.
Yeah.
However, if something is delayed by giving them till April, it allows that flexibility for that time period. But they are in progress of trying to get a vendor that will comply with the standard and the regulation for the time period. And the RFP that's out has timelines for each step of the process for it that was included in the packet for the review of this.
So can we require some reporting between now and April as to how it's going, and if they're, where they are in this process, and whether they're making any other effort to make things easier for families, like giving them other opportunities to be able to deposit money without a charge?
I would say that if there were steps that were missed, we would potentially be made aware, but I don't want to get some feedback on an active contract and have information shared with us that, that impact the contract. I would like to let the contract process follow its timeframe. And that, for us, if we looked in and we didn't see them implementing, I think the implementation is December. Is it one of the pieces was like December? If we didn't see that progress, then I think we
15th
would,
is when the agreement's executed.
okay, December 15th?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think shortly after that, if we didn't get some feedback from them, we could make a recommendation to the commission that perhaps we rescind the variance. And again, that's would have an impact on people more than we think, on the other side of it is people, we know that they have to pay this fee, but they're taking advantage of that versus going to the island. Now, the other question that you had is regarding adding additional locations and require New York City DOC to add additional locations. We've always taken from them that the cashier's window at the visitor center and at the other borough houses is where they had it. We could reach out to New York City DOC and say if they have locations where they take cash bail, could they also add the option to also take cash and place on the commissary account? We could inquire that. I don't know if we would want to make that a condition, but I think we could suggest it and see if it was beneficial, for people. But knowing that less than 8% of the money that gets deposited into account comes from cash transactions. I don't know if it would increase if we had some additional locations. I think nowadays people like the opportunity to just do things electronically, and this kiosk thing does that. And I'm very confident that when this contract is wrapped up, that will be within our regulation of less than $5 for a transaction fee. And we know it has taken some time, but we're so close to getting this done. I just don't want to complicate it.
It's been 15 years that y'all have been approving variances without any requirement that they do anything about it.
Yeah.
And to me, just laying down for this again is just.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll be outvoted, but I can't support just giving them till April without something in between to make sure that they're on track and that they're doing other things to try to relieve the burden on families.
The
Which would
dates,
include researching how to get access to the commissary money to help families. They got lawyers.
Mhm.
Mox has lawyers. They could try to figure this out. And I don't know whether people would be more likely to save wanting to save $11 by making a free deposit at a more convenient location, because there's nothing in Staten Island. There's nothing you're giving them nowhere to go.
yeah,
Um,
we could change our recommendation to March 1st from April 1st. Like the last step of their contract is February 19th,
I would
where
just like a
everything is
check-in.
executed.
I would just like a check-in at some point prior to getting toward that end.
We request something from them.
Yeah, shortly after the contract is executed in December, a
No,
notification.
before that,
that's-
to make sure. I want to
At
report.
what step? I just don't want to interfere with the,
We're not interfering by asking them whether they're on track.
but we wouldn't get the documentation, like, so
I'm willing to believe them if they say that they give us information that would indicate that things are going okay, that they have.
so that bids came back, so the first set of bids are due back.
Vendors selected October 14th.
Okay, so maybe by October 31st, notify us that a vendor has been selected. And then by December 31st, notify us that a contract has been signed.
Because if they haven't selected a vendor, which would indicate they didn't get anything, then.
Right.
There would be no reason for us to just then hang out till January.
Okay.
Or
So, yeah, we
April.
could do something in November if we needed to. So we could add those two check-ins that by October 31st, notify us that a vendor has been selected. And then by December 31st, notify us that a contract has been signed, and not with whom or anything like that, so we don't impact any bidding or anything like that, but just a letter from the department.
More of a preference report.
Generally, in my old job at Osborne, if we were selected for a contract, that was public information,
Mhm.
even if it wasn't.
Yeah,
final
maybe,
contract,
yeah.
So they could tell us that. And then can we make a recommendation that they look for more opportunities for people to be able to make free deposits in the meantime?
So add a conditions, like with some wording, like the department shall consider offering individuals the opportunity to make deposits at any locations where cash bail is accepted, on behalf of the department. So something like that.
Mhm.
I think that's it's just that they shall consider. Yeah, now it doesn't require it to happen, but they shall consider it. I think that's acceptable.
I'd rather require it, but I know I'm not gonna get anywhere with y'all. Maybe the Board of Correction will step up on this one.
So, but we can make a note that the department shall consider adding additional locations where they currently accept cash bail.
Okay. And then, I guess at some point it would be worthwhile for somebody to look into how to get that commissary money, but that's, I guess, for another time.
Yeah, I think that's really outside of us, and that's the abandoned money versus it's not really anything to do with the kiosk fees, and it's not, it's
I
some
understand.
of the accounts, so.
This would be the
Okay.
decent thing to do.
So the recommendation would be to approve through April 1 with the 3 added conditions. And Amanda took those notes and we'll get those added to the letter.
Any other concerns?
No.
A motion,
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Um,
Next, we have Rich Lee, the supervisor.
Good morning, Chairman. Item B 2506 for ACS, New York City. Given some information submitted since the write-up was dispersed for approval, I would suggest the recommendation to consider a move to executive session for security-related concerns.
Any questions on that? Motion will be assessment.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Next is Chris Lois. Unit
sorry.
Supervisor.
Sorry, Rich, that was for item B,
Oh.
items B and C.
B and C, yes, sorry.
We need a motion on C too.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
I'll turn it over to Chris Lois. Is he on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Chairman, Commissioners, good morning.
Morning.
On the agenda today is a request from Westchester County Department of Corrections to renew waiver 20W001. This is a waiver to our regulation of Health Services 7010.3A, possession of medication by incarcerated individuals. It's a waiver which is permitted for our 7010.3B in our standards. This original waiver was approved back in April of 2020 in response to limiting contact with between staff and individuals by having a limited keep on person medication program. Basically, they have a limited number of medications that are non-controlled, non-psychotropic, up to a 14-day supply, and that have been prescribed by the physician. Westchester Department of Corrections reports that this has been working well for them. Their self-administering program, they have had no reported incidents. We have had no grievances or complaints received regarding medication administration since implementation. We have had staff on site to do a recent health services evaluation at the end of June. Health services evaluation did not return any issues regarding medication administration with the population. So they're requesting to continue this waiver for a period of 1 year. Recommendations to approve waiver for keep on person medication for 1 year.
Any questions or concerns? Motion,
Motion.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Move on to Roy Robeson, Unit Supervisor. Lloyd.
All right, item B is concerning the Clinton County Jail MFC. Commission staff initiated a revision of the Clinton County Jail's MFC to revise nomenclature to reflect the current housing unit structure of the facility. Over there for staffing analysis, we determined that our MFC was a little inaccurate only based on the name of the units. No change in capacity, just kind of a formality there. So we request approval as submitted.
Any questions or concerns?
No.
Motion,
Motion.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion to go to executive session for security construction issue? Motion,
Motion.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Welcome back. Need a motion to exit executive session?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
A motion to ratify all action taken in executive session.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any other business? Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.